I'm going to show you how you can create a starter activity using Microsoft Forms, and you can either use a quiz or a form, it doesn't matter which one, to then automatically post to a channel in one of your teams. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and actually show one of the forms that I've got set up. So this I've actually named so I know exactly which group it's for. So this is an initial activity where I just want to get some ideas about what the students use the internet for and what they think companies and businesses use. So I've gone down here and I've set this up as questions. It doesn't matter whether it's a form or a quiz, either will work for this particular task. So here I've called it the starter activity, just so that I know. Underneath it says what I'm going to be doing. So this is when you set these actual quiz questions up. You can actually put the heading up there. Then in the bottom it says in this unit what we're going to be looking at. And then I've added some questions in, and I've only put 2 in there. I want to know, what do they use the internet for? Now remember, when you're setting one of these up, you can actually highlight words and use some of the shortcut keys like Control B to make text bold or Control I to make it italic. And here I've used a long answer and I've said it's actually required. Now, if this was actually a formal quiz, we would be able to put points in here. If I'd done a normal form, that wouldn't be in this particular option. It doesn't matter which one I use for this, I'm not actually going to grade these in any way. The next one I've got here is, what do you think companies and businesses would use the internet for? Again, describe as many ideas as you can. And because I've used a long text box again on this one, a long answer, it means they can just keep on typing and put a lot of detail into this box. Now, what is important is you can then change your theme here, okay, and make it a different theme. There's lots that are already appearing on here. It gives you lots of ideas, or you can go down and just set a basic background, or you have even got video backgrounds behind it, which does use a bit more bandwidth, or some basic, more sort of clip art types of backgrounds. So I'm fine with that one. What I do want to do though is I'm going to go over to settings, and when you set this quiz up, obviously they're going to see the results automatically on this one. I only want people actually in the organisation to respond, and I would like the names next to it. We're not going to be publishing the names of the actual students when we do this, but it does mean that I'm actually going to be able to see later on if there were any daft answers, exactly who was responsible for the daft answers. And I've unticked the box that says 1 response per person, because it does mean if somebody goes, oh, actually, I've thought of some other ideas, they can carry on and do this. And we are going to get to the point where we're going to be collecting responses. And when we actually do this, I'm going to actually use a QR code, and that is what I will put up for the students to actually zap as they walk in the room on a poster to say, right, as you're coming in, please would you make sure you zap this QR code and answer these questions on your phone. We can go in and actually preview this actual quiz and see what it's going to look like. Now the next stage on this is we need to go into something called PowerFlow. So on that left hand side, what we're going to do is go and click on the little drop down here, and we're going to come down to Power Automate. So Power Automate will look like this. And this is where we're going to set up an automatic feature. This is going to actually do the automation. The other thing I need to do is I need to prepare my team. So in my team, I need to put a new channel in. So this is going to be the 3A group, and I'm going to add a channel, and I'm going to call this channel Using the Internet, because that's the name of my unit, and add it. So I need to have this all set before I go back to my PowerFlow. So let me go up to my Power Automate, and I'm going to use a built-in template. There are lots and lots of templates here. So I'm just going to pick a really simple one. I'm going to put in here form and team, just to try and make it find the one I'm after. And this is the one I want. Notify the team when a new response is submitted. So if I click on it, it's going to tell me, right, this is going to take what's on the Microsoft form. It's going to use the information to post to teams. And it says it's going to now need to connect. Now, obviously, I've already connected, but if you haven't connected, you actually need to fill that in and click on Continue. So first thing I'm going to do is pick a form. So this gives me in here all the forms that I've ever created. Now, this is using the internet, and I'm using EVIT3A. You'll note that I've named mine with the name of my group so that I can easily find this when I'm creating it. So we don't need to worry about all the rest of this. What we do need to do though is say which is the form that we're actually going to go and use. Again, we need to go down to find that particular form, and it's 3A, and it's going to go and find that particular prompt that's up there. We leave the post, we leave the channel. If you did want to post something else, you can play with these. Now the team is going to load my teams for me, and I'm looking for 22-23. I'm looking for my Everything Digital IT Group A. And the channel is the one I've just created, which should now come up there using the internet. Now it's important that you put this all in before you set your team up, before you go in here, otherwise it won't actually show that channel. And now I want to put a message together. So if you notice it says add dynamic content, over on the right hand side it's actually picked up those questions that I've actually want to use. So what I can do now is I can, first of all, I need to put in here what the answer is going to be. So in here we can type in what we want it to be. So I'm going to make that bold, and I'm going to make sure I've got a space after it. So let me just get that for a moment. Put a space there, and then I'm going to say click on the box down here, and it will then fill that information in as a field after it. And then I'm going to enter just a couple of returns just for a moment. And the next question I'm obviously going to have is and again I'm going to put a space in after it, and then I'm going to put that last field that's in there. Now you can add as much text as you want into here, because this is what will appear in the post. And when you've done this, you still want to have a little look at what the results are and then try it later on. And I'm just going to save that. And that's all there is to this. What this will now do is it will now say, right, when a new response is submitted to this particular form, what we want it to do is get that actual detail that's there, and then make the Flowbot post it in your channel, and here it is so that the students can have a little look at it. And what's important here is we actually save this one. So up at the top I can rename this. So this I can now call using the Internet Response Activity 1 EVIT3A, and I can save it. Now over on the side here we have this test option, and test means that we really ought to test that this works. So I'm going to do this manually, and I'm going to get set to test going, and this will now come up and it will show this little spinning wheel in the middle just there, which says, right, okay, it says to see it work now, perform the starting action. So I'm going to go back to my actual responses here, and I'm actually going to go and just do preview. This is how you can test it yourself. So what do I use the internet for? Watching films and programs on Netflix, researching recipes to make. Anybody who knows me knows that I like cooking. What do you think companies use it for? Selling products online. I'm just going to put a basic in there at the moment. Now when I hit submit on here and I go back to my flow, what it will do is it will say your flow ran successfully. So that's absolutely brilliant, and it shows what happened. If I now go down to my team in here, there we go. This is what it's done. It says, so this is what a student uses the internet for: watching films and programs on Netflix, researching recipes. So it's filled in my details. Now what I've noticed here is I've left the bold switched on. So what would be now handy is for me to go back into my flow and actually make that actually back to not being bold. So let's go and try to test that out and see how that works. So I'm going to go back in here, return back to my flow, and go up to edit at the top. And now if I come down, I'm going to need to click on this section here, click back on the poster message, and what I now need to do is highlight this little section here and turn off bold. And again, highlight the bottom section. Let's make sure that that's done. There we go. And turn off bold again. So hopefully now this will make sure that I haven't got the bold switched on. Just double check that again. Yeah, bold on, bold off. Okay, and we've now done that one. So now what I can do is save it again. So that's saved. It now says it's at the top up there. Let's just go and test it again. So what we can say is submit another response. Let's have a little different one. Researching family tree. And depending on how much text you put in here, all of that will just flow when you put it into the answer in your in the box, so that it will appear in your channel. We've done in here companies and business people, maybe researching competitors. Also we could put in there things like navigating to appointments using online maps. If I submit that one, let's just see what happens. We'll go back down to the team again. There we go. And let's watch this happen. Notice now, because I've turned the bold off, it's actually now allowing me to see those answers. Now the good news here is, as we do this, it is going to show up. We can bring it up on the smartboard, we can start discussing it, or we can ask students to actually continue on and do some research or reply. So it's a really clever way of actually generating input at the start of a lesson, or even during a lesson if you want to check knowledge and understanding has actually taken place.